So one thing I think we can all be clear on is Blizzard's updates and their schedules and how often they're updating has just gotten an infinitely times amount better. They have been popping off when it comes to continuously updating their game. Now, of course, you're going to have to take it with a grain of salt because someone like Roadhog hasn't even been touched. But I digress. Even if the Roadhog nerf got delayed again, we should still be seeing it very soon in January. With that being said, the spicy changes to Junker Queen did go through alongside a bunch of other patches. And the biggest thing is, did they bring the Junker Queen meta along with them? Blizzard has this historical thing of, undertuning someone, then if they're weak for too long, kind of overbuffing them. See Doomfist. They overbuffed him and had to nerf him quite quickly after that, and he's in an okay position, but they toned it down too much. And they're clearly okay with overtoning one way or the other and then leaving it, more than really finding the middle ground. And the real question here is, after playing Junker Queen myself, and better yet, watching players like Flats and Emong play her, which are much better players than me, and taking in their opinion, is she too strong and where does she belong today? And honestly, before answering that question, you're gonna have to understand my thought process a little bit. One thing that Blizzard hasn't fully proved yet is their reliance, or I guess their awareness more so, of how other patches and other buffs or nerfs interact with one another. And I mean, a lot of people will deny this, or they might even argue me. They're like, no, Blizzard obviously takes into account shadow buffs and shadow nerfs. And just in case you don't know, a shadow nerf is, for example, after nerfing Genji, they later changed up the DPS passive, which further nerfed him, but they did not buff him to compensate, right? The passive that changed for DPS shadow nerfed and shadow buffed various different DPS heroes. And there are instances in which Blizzard is clearly aware. They knew that the Roadhog nerf was going to be delayed, so they went ahead and buffed Ana early on. This buff helps counter Roadhog quite a lot. Like, it's just a straight up hard counter. The more players playing Ana, the less potent Roadhog feels. But now, I know that they're gonna nerf Roadhog heavily. I know it. I have an itching freaking feeling because he's hard to balance, and unless they completely rework the character from the ground up, any sort of distinct nerf to that one-shot or healing will destroy his character, because that is his character. You get in, you one-shot, you get out by healing. It's not a good character in design, but it is his character. That's just a fact. So I'm gonna predict that Roadhog is gonna fall off the face of the earth in the next patch. It's just my prediction. That's what I believe will happen, and maybe for a little bit it's okay, since we've been seeing him way too much in our games. Hopefully it's followed by a much bigger, I guess, rework later in the future, but for now I assume that's what's going to happen. And once Roadhog is nerfed, will they adjust Ana? Or, if they don't want to adjust Ana, will other supports receive some buffs? One of my biggest issues is when I made the Ana video the other day, people said that a 10% pick rate is normal. It's not even that high, was the quotations. But in front of some of the supports getting less than 1% pick rate, that is pretty bad. She's getting a 10x pick rate over some of her peers. That means there is a failure in the balance. That's just a fact. We don't feel it too much right now because Roadhog is so freaking potent. We need Ana to be that strong. But that's not great balance, that's just like patchwork, and those patchworks need to eventually become full fixes. So either other supports will need a little bit of a buff and Ana a little bit of nerf to start balancing things out, or again, the way there's shadow buffs and shadow nerfs, things do collide with each other. And why? Why did I go off topic to talk about all this? Because right now the Junker Queen buffs feel good, but not overpowered, though the next patch could very easily change that depending on what tanks get changed. And this is, I guess, where we have to think about it. Right now, Junker Queen actually got a nice buff. Blizzard did it. She is a little bit better. She's been raised on that chart to be comparable to her peers. They did fantastic in the buffs. She is just way more fun to play, and she just feels way more like a brawler. That Carnage swing, when you hit it, is great. Now, I was facing a Lucio and an Orisa. Countering me is quite easy because when you go to Carnage swing, I kept getting booped. You guys have probably been seeing it in the gameplay. I go to Carnage swing, boop, get out of the way. I missed. It's a full 8-second cooldown, but I digress. That's the thing. Orisa is a good counter and very strong. When I said she was going to be very strong, I also got a little bit of hate back then, but it's just the fact. She's right now still very, very strong. On top of that, Zarya, while not too strong, is a great counter to Junker Queen, and Roadhog is overall just a better version of her, in the sense of, instead of pulling them in with gravity, hook them for sure and one-shot them for sure, right? That's the biggest thing. Junker Queen is going to feel a lot better when Roadhog gets nerfed, because she's going to have a brawler position that's not overpowered and annoying to play against, but still strong enough to play with and have fun. She's going to be in a fantastic position. If they also nerf Orisa, however, she's going to come up to an A tier, and we'll see how the other supports get changed. Again, right now she's really, really good, but nerfs or buffs could change that by the next patch. And the next patch should be this month. It should be in January. However, I'm having my fingers crossed that the overall feeling of Junker Queen is just in a healthy position finally, which is just fantastic. I mean, like Blizzard very rarely buffs someone almost perfectly, and I think they kind of nailed it with Junker Queen. And I guess it's very refreshing to see balance changes that didn't completely shake up the meta, because I've kind of made a video every time there's a huge patch. I say, let's say Blizzard flipped the meta on its head, or the meta has been changed, and a lot of the tier lists, even across other content creators, get shifted quite a lot. But no, this time we had patches close together that tuned the heroes towards the right direction and kind of solidified a better balanced game. Now, the game is very, 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 very far from perfect, but I would be happy to say that most of the problems are in the monetization, reward, and lack thereof features of the game itself. The gameplay, the core gameplay is still better than it's ever been. And I saw a post the other day on Reddit that mentioned, if you could go back to Overwatch 1, would you? And a lot of people said yes because of the reward system, the loot boxes, the free skins, and I understand that, but that's seeing it through a rose-colored lens, as of course the gameplay itself was quite horrendous compared to Overwatch 2. Overwatch 2 just plays and feels overall way better. With that being said, I might as well ask you guys, because one of the top comments was, I miss duoing tank, and the follow-up comment, I quote, "The tank duos is what I miss the most, synergizing an Orisa pull with a hog hook or a Ryan Czar on King's Row." That's just wild to me. I can't actually I mean, I know the tanks are a little bit of a raid boss right now, and their balancing has been a doozy. They're some of the biggest reasons the game has been imbalanced, but there's still things like Sojourn and a ton of other reasons. But you know what? That's my opinion. I don't know how much you can take that as fact, so I want to take that small opportunity, follow up by that Reddit post, and ask you guys, do you miss Overwatch 1 gameplay at all? Or is it just the monetization and the feeling of wanting skins and rewards? Because that much I agree with, but do you guys miss duo tank? Do you guys like 6 instead of 5 players? Because to me, I can't exactly process it. I thought the game got like 100 times better in its core gameplay, but let me know. I want to know what you guys think. With, of course, that being said, I do believe some of the biggest imbalances from the game, or some of the most hate people aren't realizing, just comes from the poor ranked system. Now, it's another video on its own, but last time I talked about the ranked system, it didn't get too much views, and that's okay. But you guys have to keep in mind that right now, instead of like 5-minute queues to have some sort of good degree, the medal ranks are pretty short. You're talking about more than 50% of the games are stomps in a 1 to 2 minute queue where both gold and diamonds coexist in the same lobby. So I do wonder if a lot of the biggest imbalances outside of patches or memories from the first game just comes from the ranked system that I believe needs further discussion, but not today. Thanks for watching.